Shalom, shalom, or shalom. Peace and blessing. First, I want to start off by giving all praise to the Most High. In the name of Christ, the Most High name, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahawashi. I want to start off today. This is my first live. I want to start off today. We're going to talk about since the beginning. It's the title, Since the Beginning. So first, I'm going to start off, show everybody that not familiar with how to read the Bible. We're going to start off with Isaiah 28:9. And it reads, "Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast." Verse 10. "For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little." So now that's telling you how to understand the knowledge of the Bible. So as you see, going over these precepts I got, we're going to be going from various chapters. We're going to be going back and forth to get understanding. So today, we're going to start off from the beginning. The book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 1. "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." Verse 3. "And God said, Let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day." Now this is the first day. God saying, "Let there be light." And there was light, right? So now we're going to jump to verse 14 and show y'all that this light is not the sun. Verse 14. "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. So now this light that's in verse 3 is not the same light as the sun and the moon in the firmament of heaven. And we're going to prove that. We're going to read verse 3 again. "And God said, Let there be light. And there was light." This was the first day. All right, so now we're going to jump to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And we're going to start at verse 3. So I'll be going back and forth from the old and the new, so we can get understanding of what this light is. That's not the sun or the moon in Genesis. So now here we go. We got 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 3. And it reads, chapter 4 and verse 3. And it reads, "But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine upon them." So like unto them. So now Christ is the image of God. Christ is not God. That's a misconception. Don't be deceived, people, by someone saying that Christ is God in the flesh. No, Christ is not the Most High. So now we're going to jump back to Genesis, and we're going to go to verse, still in chapter 1, we're going to go to verse 26. And verse 26 reads, "And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Now the key is you got to pay attention to, and God said, let us make man in our image. So now we're going to go to John. We're going to go to the book of John in the New Testament, chapter 1. And we're going to go to we're going to start with verse 6. So now this is the book of John, chapter 1 and verse 6. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. So now that's that same light, John bearing witness of this light that been from the beginning, in verse 3. So now we're going to jump up to, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. Now we're going to jump up to John 1 and 1. And it reads, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So now you got, in the beginning, it was the Word, and this Word was with God, and the Word was God. So you got a God that's with God. So every time in the Bible you see God, that's not speaking on the Most High. It's speaking of Christ. Christ is written all throughout the Bible. So now we're going to go to verse 2. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Right? So now it was nothing made in this world without Christ, because Christ was the first thing created. That light that you speak, that Genesis speaks of in verse 3 is Christ. Because you see, as I showed you in verse 14 and 15, that's when the sun and the moon was made in the firmament of heaven, right? So now we're gonna go to verse 10. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. Right? Now we're gonna jump to Hebrews chapter 1. Also, now remember, for everybody who jumped on, I'm jumping from chapter to chapter because that's how you get understanding. You got to read precept upon precept. So now this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 1 and verse 1. God, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. Right? So y'all got to pick up on things like that. See, a lot of people, because they don't understand the Bible, they try to discredit it. It say that God's Son, which is Christ, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds, because Christ created everything. That's why you will see in certain scriptures they would call him Father, because he is the creator. And we're gonna get a precept of that too. We're gonna go to now we're gonna jump to Hebrews chapter 11, and we're gonna read verse 3. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So it says, through our faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, because Christ was the first thing made. So that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Now we're going to jump to another precept. We're going to go to 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 22. Who is gone into heaven? Okay, I'm sorry, at 21. So like, the like figure whereunto even baptism doth also now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of good conscience toward God by the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So now speaking on Jesus Christ, verse 22, who is gone into heaven and is on the right hand of God, angels and authorities and powers being made subject to him. So now all these powers and the angels, they made subject to Christ because he made all things through the power of the Most High. So now we're going to go back to John. I just got a few more precepts. We're going to go back to John chapter 1 and verse 14. So this is the book of John chapter 1 verse 14. And the word was made flesh. So Christ was made flesh, the word, and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Verse 15, John bare witness of him and cried, saying, This was he of whom I spake. He that cometh after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. So John bare witness on Christ, and he telling you that Christ was even before John, because Christ was the first thing made when you read Genesis. So we're going to go to John chapter 14. We'll go to John chapter 14 and verse 9. And it reads, Jesus said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, Show us the Father? Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth works. Now we're going to jump to, I got about 2 more precepts. We're going to jump to Mark. St. Mark, chapter 13, and verse 32. And it reads, But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels which are heaven, neither the Son, but the Father. I'm going over various precepts because I've been seeing people saying that Christ is the Most High God made flesh, and he's not. He's the Son of God. So, man, if anybody you following saying it, man, tell them he going against the word, man. And we got one more precept. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 6. And it reads, But to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. See, this verse is a stumbling block for a lot of people. That's why you have to read precept on precept. All it's saying is Christ is the Most High Father, and the Father, Yahweh, is not Christ, but everything was made through him by the Father. That's all it's saying, man. You gotta get understanding though. And let's see. What else I got? Colossians. I go to Colossians chapter 1. But yeah, man, when you read the Bible, man, you gotta go precept upon precept. That's why I went all the way from Genesis to John. You know, you gotta get understanding, because a lot of people don't understand what that light is. I said Colossians. I'm gonna do chapter 1 and verse 18. All right. So this is the book Colossians, chapter 1 and verse 18. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell, and having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. So with that, I say shalom, peace and blessings. Understanding is everything. 1 Colossians 1 and 16. Great precept, Brother Gary. With that, I say shalom, man. Peace and blessings to everybody. I hope y'all got understanding. On this short video, I will be doing more live videos to break down just small things, man, that'll keep you from stumbling on certain words, you know. And with that, I say shalom.